Now this is the account of how the Igigi, the daughters of the Earthlings, abducted, and how afflictions followed, and Ziusudra, oddly, was born. In a great number did the Igigi from Lamu to earth come. Only 1/3 of them on Lamu stayed. To earth came 200. To be with their leader Marduk, his wedding celebration to attend was their explanation. Unbeknownst to Enki and Enlil was their secret. To abduct and have conjugation was their plot. Unbeknownst to the leaders on earth, a multitude of the Igigi on Lamu got together. What to Marduk permitted is from us too should not be deprived. To each other they said, enough of suffering and loneliness, not of my offspring ever having, was their slogan. During their comings and goings between Lamu and earth, the daughters of the Earthlings, the Adapite females, as them they called, they saw, and after them they lusted, and to each other the plotters said, come, let us choose wives from among the Adapite females, and children beget. One among them, Shamgaz, his name was, their leader became. Even if none of you agrees, I alone the deed shall do. To the others he said, if penalty for this sin shall be imposed, I alone for you all shall it bear. One by one the others in the plot joined together. By an oath together to do it they swore. By the time of Marduk's wedding, 200 of them were on the landing place descended. Upon the great platform in the Cedar Mountains they came down. From there to Eridu they journeyed. Among the toiling Earthlings they passed. Together with the Earthling throng in Eridu they arrived. After the wedding ceremony of Marduk and Sarpanit had taken place, by a signal prearranged, Shamgaz to the others assigned gave. An Earthling maiden each one of the Igigi seized. By force they them abducted. To the landing place in the Cedar Mountains, the Igigi with the females went, and to a stronghold the place they made. To the leaders a challenge they issued. Enough of deprivation and not having offspring. The Adapite daughters to marry we wish. Your blessing to this you must give, else by fire all on earth destroy we will. Alarmed the leaders were. Of Marduk, the Igigi commander, charged to take they demanded. In the matter, I a solution must seek. With the Igigi my heart in agreement is. So did Marduk to the others say, what I have done from them cannot be deprived. Enki and Ninmah their heads shook. With begrudging agreement they voiced. Only Enlil was enraged without pacification. One evil deed by another has been followed. Fornication from Enki and Marduk the Igigi have adopted. Our pride and sacred mission to the winds have been abandoned. By our own hands this planet with earthling multitudes shall be overrun. With much disgust was Enlil speaking. Let the Igigi and their females from earth depart. On Lamu conditions unbearable have become. Surviving is not possible, so did Marduk to Enlil and Enki say. In the Eden they cannot remain, Enlil with anger shouted. With much disgust the gathering he left. In his heart, things against Marduk and his Earthlings was Enlil plotting. Upon the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains were the Igigi and their females secluded. Children there to them were born. Children of the rocket ships they were called. Marduk and Sarpanit, his spouse, also had children. Asar and Setu were their first 2 sons called. To the domain above the Abzu, to him and Sarpanit granted, Marduk the Igigi invited, to dwell in 2 cities that for his sons he had built, Marduk the Igigi summoned. Some of the Igigi and their offspring to the domain of the dark-hued land came. On the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains, Shamgaz and others did remain. To the far east lands, Lands of high mountains, some of their offspring went. How Marduk of Earthlings his strength increases, Ninurta carefully observed. What are Enki and Marduk scheming? To his father Enlil, Ninurta said. The earth by the Earthlings inherited will be. Enlil to Ninurta said, Go, the offspring of Cain find. With them a domain of your own prepare. To the other side of earth Ninurta went. The offspring of Cain he found. How tools to make and music to play he them taught. How in mining to engage and smelt and refine he showed them. How to build rafts of balsam trees he showed them. To cross a great sea he them guided. In a new land a domain they established. A city with twin towers there they built. A domain beyond the seas it was. The mountain land of a new bond heaven earth it was not. In the Eden, Lumok was the workmaster. Quotas to enforce was his duty. The earthlings' rations to reduce was his task. His spouse was Batanash, the daughter of Lumok's father's brother she was. Of beauty outstanding she was. By her beauty was Enki charmed. Enki to his son Marduk a word did send. To your domain, Lumok, do summon. How by earthlings a city to build, there him teach. And when Lumok to the domain of Marduk was summoned, to the household of Ninmah in Shurabak, the haven city, his spouse Batanesh he brought. From the angry earthling masses protected and safe to be. Thereafter Enki his sister Ninmah in Shurabak was quick to visit. On the roof of a dwelling, when Batanash was bathing, Enki by her loins took hold. He kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. With a child Batanash was. Her belly was truly swelling. To Lumok from Shurabak word was sent. To the Eden return. A son you have. To the Eden, to Shurabak, Lumok returned. To him Batanash the sun showed. White as snow was his skin, the color of wool was his hair. Like the skies were his eyes, in a brilliance were his eyes shining. Amazed and frightened was Lumok. To his father Matushal he hurried. A son unlike an earthling to Batanash was born. By this birth greatly puzzled I am. Matushal to Batanash came. The newborn boy he saw. By his likeness amazed he was. Is this one of the Igigi, the boy's father? Of Batanash, Matushal the truth demanded. To Lumok, your spouse, whether this boy is his son is, the truth reveal. None of the Igigi is the boy's father. Of this upon my life I swear. So did Batanash him answer. To his son, Lumok Matushal then turned. A calming arm on his shoulders he put. A mystery the boy is, but in his oddness an omen to you is revealed. Unique he is, for a task unique by destiny he was chosen. What that task is, I know not. In time appropriate shall it become. So was Matushal to his son Lumok saying. To what on earth was transpiring, he was alluding. In those days the sufferings on earth were increasing. The days grew colder. The skies their rains were holding back. Fields their crops diminished. In the sheepfolds ewe lambs were few. Let the son to you born, unusual as he is, an omen be that a respite is coming. So did Matushal to his son Lumok say, let respite be his name. To Matushal and Lumok, Batanash her son's secret did not reveal. Ziasudra, he of long, bright life days, she called him. In Shurabak he was raised. Ninmah on the child her protection and affection bestowed. Of much understanding he was endowed. With knowledge he was by her provided. Enki the child greatly adored. To read the writings of Adapa he him taught. The priestly rites, how to observe and perform, the boy as a young man learned. In the 110th Shar was Ziasudra born. In Shurabak he grew up and espoused Imzara, and she bore him 3 sons. In his days the sufferings on earth intensified, plagues and starvations the earth afflicted. Now this is the account of earth's tribulations before the deluge, and how the mysterious Galzu decisions of life and death in secret guided. By the conjugations of Igigi and the Earthling daughters was Enlil greatly disturbed. By Marduk's espousal of an Earthling female, Enlil was much distraught. In his eyes, the Anunnaki mission to Earth had become perverted. To him, the howling, shouting Earthling masses an anathema became. Oppressive the pronouncements of the Earthlings have become. The conjugations of sleep deprive me. So did Enlil to the other leaders say. In the days of Ziusudra, plagues and pestilences the earth afflicted. Aches, dizziness, chills, fevers the Earthlings overwhelmed. Let us the Earthlings curing teach, how themselves to remedy to learn. So did Ninmah say. By this decree I forbid, Enlil to her pleas retorted, in the lands whereto the Earthlings have spread, waters from their sources did not rise. The earth shut its womb, vegetation did not sprout. Let us the Earthlings pond and canal building teach. Let them from the seas fish and sustenance obtain. So did Enki to the other leaders say. This by decree I forbid, Enlil to Enki said. Let the Earthlings by hunger and pestilence perish. For 1 shar the Earthlings ate the grasses of the fields. For the 2nd shar, the 3rd shar, the vengeance of Enlil they suffered. In Shurabak, Ziusudra's city, the suffering unbearable was becoming. To Eridu, Ziusudra of the Earthlings, a spokesman, journeyed. To the house of the Lord Enki he made his way. By the name of his Lord he called. For help and salvation to him he pleaded. Enki by Enlil's decrees was bound. In those days the Anunnaki for their own surviving were concerned. Their own rations were diminished. By earth's changes they themselves afflicted became. On earth, as on Lamu, the seasons their regularity lost. For 1 shar, for 2 shars, from Nibiru the heavenly circuits were studied. Oddities in the planetary destinies from Nibiru were observed. On the sun's face, black spots were appearing. From its face, flames shot up. Kishar also was misbehaving. Its host, its footings lost. Dizzying were their circuits. The hammered bracelet was by unseen net forces pulled and pushed. For reasons unfathomed, the sun, its family, was upsetting. The destinies of the celestials by unsavory fates were overtaken. On Nibiru, the savants' alarms raised. In the public squares, the people gathered. The creator of all, to primordial days the heavens is returning. Angry is the creator of all. Voices from amongst the people shouted. On earth, the tribulations were increasing. Fear and famine their heads reared. For 3 shars, for 4 shars, the instruments of the white land facing were observed. By Nergal and Ereshkigal, odd rumblings in the white land snows were recorded. The snow ice that the white land covers to sliding has taken. So did they from Abzu's tip report. In the land beyond the seas, Ninurta in his haven foretelling instruments established. Quakes and jitters at earth's bottom with the instruments he noticed. An odd matter is afoot. So did Enlil to Anu on Nibiru words of alarm send. For the 5th shar, for the 6th shar, the phenomena gained strength. On Nibiru the savants an alarm raised. Of calamities to the king they forewarnings gave. The next time Nibiru the sun shall be nearing, earth to Nibiru's net force exposed shall be. Lamu in its circuits on the sun's other side shall a station take. From the net force of Nibiru, earth in the heavens protection shall not have. Kishar and its host agitated shall be. Lahamu shall also shake and wobble. In earth's great below, the snow ice of the white land its footing is losing. The next time Nibiru, the closest to earth, shall approach, the snow ice off the white land's surface shall come a-sliding. A watery calamity it shall cause. By a huge wave, a deluge, the earth will be overwhelmed. On Nibiru great was the consternation, uncertain about Nibiru's own fate. Kings, savants, and counselors about Earth and Lamu also greatly worried. The king and the counselors a decision made for evacuating Earth and Lamu to prepare. In the Abzu, the gold mines shut down. Therefore, the Anunnaki to the Eden came. In Bad Tibera, smelting and refining ceased. All gold to Nibiru was lofted. Empty for evacuating ready. A fleet of fast celestial chariots to earth returned. On Nibiru, the heavenly signs were watched. On earth, the tremors recorded were. It was at that time that from one of the celestial chariots, a white-haired Anunnaki stepped off. Galzu, great knower, was his name. With steps majestic to Enlil his way he made. To him a sealed message from Anu he presented. I am Galzu, emissary, plenipotentiary of king and council, to Enlil he said. By his coming Enlil was surprised. No word from Anu of that did forecome. Enlil the seal of Anu examined. Unbroken and authentic it was. In Nibiru key, the message tablet was read. Its encoding was trustworthy. For king and council, Galzu speaks. His words are my command. So did the message from Anu state. That Enki and Ninmah also be summoned was Galzu's request. When they came, to Ninmah, Galzu pleasantly smiled. Of the same school in age we are, to her he said. This Ninmah could not recall. The emissary was young as a son. She was as his olden mother. Simple is the explanation, Galzu to her said. By our winter's slumbered life cycles it is caused. Indeed, this matter is of my mission apart. About the evacuation, it is a secret. Ever since Dumuzi on Nibiru has stayed, returning Anunnaki on Nibiru examined were. Those who on earth the longest stayed, by the returning harshly were afflicted. Their bodies to Nibiru cycled were accustomed no longer. Their sleep was disturbed. Their eyesight was failing. The net force of Nibiru weighted their walk. Their minds were also affected, as sons were older than the parents they had left. Death, my comrades, to the returnees quickly came. Of that I am here a warning to give. The three leaders on earth, the longest, by the word silent became. Ninmah was the first to speak. That much was to be expected, she was saying. Enki, the wise one, to her words consented. That much was clear, he said. Enlil with anger was seized. Before the earthlings like us were becoming, now we as earthlings have become, to this planet imprisoned. This whole mission to a nightmare turned. By Enki and his earthlings from masters, slaves we were made. To the outburst Galzu with compassion listened. Indeed, much there is to ponder, he said. On Nibiru, much thinking and soul-searching, deep questions were raising. Should Nibiru to its fate been left? Whatever by the Creator of all intended to be, let it to happen. Or was the coming to earth by the Creator of all conceived, and we only unwitting emissaries? Of that, my comrades, the debate will continue. So was Galzu to them saying. Now this is the secret command from Nibiru. The three of you on earth will remain. Only to die to Nibiru you will return. In celestial chariots, the earth encircling, the calamity you shall outwait. To each of the other Anunnaki, a choice to leave or the calamity outwait must be given. The Igigi, who earthlings espoused, must between departure and spouses choose. No earthling, Marduk Sarpanit included, to Nibiru to journey is allowed. For all who stay and what happens see, in celestial chariots they safely must seek. As for all the others, to depart for Nibiru, forthwith they ready must be. So did Galzu Nibiru's commands to the leaders in secret reveal. Now this is the account of how the Anunnaki to abandon Earth decided.